Hey Bird fans, welcome to Bird Fans Forever, where Redbird pride never takes a day off. Tonight we're talking Illinois State women's basketball with Redbird guard Elyce Knudsen. Elyce was a four-time Division III All-American and the 2023 Jostens Trophy winner at Millikin before coming to Normal. She became an important scoring presence for the Redbirds with her shooting and experience. We'll talk about her time at Illinois State, her game, and what it's meant to wear the red and white. Bird fans, you're going to enjoy this one. This is Bird Fans Forever.
Hello and welcome to Bird Fans Forever, episode 82 with Elyce Knudsen. Elyce, welcome. How you doing?
Good. How are you all?
We're doing good.
Awesome.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
We loved watching you play last year, right? And so you came to us from Millikin. And so we always ask everybody in their first episode on, how did you get to Illinois State? So talk about your journey.
Perfect. Yeah, I spent 4 years at Millikin and then decided to get into the portal, I want to say shortly after spring break. After a couple of weeks of reflection, I wasn't sure exactly if I wanted to stay at Millikin, pursue the fifth year there, and then play under Coach Lett for my final year. And just with academics and, my 4 years spent at Millikin, I thought it was time to kind of venture off into a new basketball world and kind of challenge myself. So at my age, at that time, it was easy to kind of negate different options. I wanted to stay close to home just for that final year. All my family's here, so I wanted for them to be able to come to a majority of those games. So schools that reached out that were over 4 hours, I wasn't necessarily interested in, so it kind of kept the list short. So, and then Illinois State came into the picture a little bit late, and had good conversation with them. Went on my visit maybe a day after I spoke with them on the phone, and my cousin and my aunt came with me. They both work here in Bloomington. So that was an interesting experience for sure, and I bet the coaching staff can attest to that as well. My aunt asked a lot of questions.
And good for your aunt, right? I mean,
right.
It's a huge decision, right, to come play here. Does it fit your style, right? Is it coaches you want to be around, right? And so keep going.
So kind of hounded them and then sat down and, you realize I'm 55 minutes away. It's the same distance that I was from Decatur. I'm just playing at a higher level in bigger arenas. And then my main thing was I want to come when I know that you guys have some good post play. I've never played with great, spectacular posts. And they got Nevaeh Thomas out of the portal from Evansville, and then Addison ended up committing shortly after. And we ended up living together. We're close as can be still. And that kind of sealed the deal for me, aside from the staff having Division III ties. I played against Katrina Beck, who is now an assistant here at Illinois State when she was at Wesleyan. So just all of that kind of tying together made it picture perfect for me. And then that made the decision, and that's why I became a Redbird, essentially.
Out of high school, were you recruited by any D1, or was it just strictly D2, D3?
Yeah, the weirdest thing for me was that basketball was kind of like that hobby. It was really fun. I didn't play AAU. I would fill in for teams that would a girl would message me and be like, hey, Elyce, I play against you in high school. We need you this weekend. We're playing up in Chicago. Would you be willing to play? We're short girls. Okay, fine. So me and my mom would travel up and I'd play a weekend. And that would be once, maybe every month and a half that would happen. Played travel softball and got interest from higher levels. So always thought I was just going to play softball. And then basketball was just kind of the thing that was fun, but then started to realize I was kind of good at it. So I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is what I want to play coming out of high school. And then I always say, luckily COVID-19 canceled my softball season. And I just broke the all-time scoring record at Unity. And we won a regional for the first time in almost 10 years. So Coach Lett reached out to me, I think my freshman year of high school, and we just stayed in contact, and I figured it was the perfect place to go. She was just, played at Southern, won a national championship with Wesleyan, kind of was exactly what I was looking for from a competitive side to play, and that was about the only level aside from JUCO that reached out to me coming out of high school.
So fast forward, you spent 4 years at Millikin. You're getting recruited. You let Coach G know that she was late to the game. Did you let her know that, by the way?
Yeah. Well, that's what they say. They said we wish you would have gotten there earlier, so we had more years to coach you. So.
But what other schools were recruiting you when you were in the portal?
I took a visit to Butler because that was an easy drive for me, about 2 hours away, and you don't hit much traffic on the way there, so it seemed like a good option. There are a couple schools in Florida, Stetson, spoke with DePaul. So it was a lot of, those are the ones that I was having conversations with because in terms of location, it's what fitted me. But like I say, I don't know how people do it, one time essentially, but 2-3 times. I mean, it was a process that was just so difficult, and I couldn't imagine navigating it at 19, 20 years old. I think at 22, I knew exactly what I wanted, and definitely made the process easier.
So when you're going through this recruiting process, I mean, there was ISU had a player that transferred in from D2, Paige Robinson, right, from Drury.
Yeah.
Had that have any influence, seeing someone have success at Illinois State that came from a program and moved up to D1?
Most definitely. I got the privilege of playing against Paige my freshman year in high school. We traveled over to Okaw Valley and played her. And obviously when you're a freshman, you're playing against a skilled guard. From where I'm from, you're like, whoa, you're kind of taken back from it. And you're like, this kid could go play D1. I want to play D1, but there's no way that I possibly can. And then, her going to Drury, playing the GLVC, I'm familiar with a lot of the teams in that league, and kind of just watched her success while I was at Millikin. And you can only applaud a product that comes out of where you're from and the family. Like I have family that lives near where her family is from. So that also, provided me a sense of comfort, knowing that what she was able to do in a year under Coach Gillespie and her staff was something that if she can do that in a year coming from a D2, then why wouldn't I be able to coming from Division III? And I was fortunate enough to, watch one of her workouts when I came on a visit and then reach out to her just about her experience. And she said she wouldn't have traded it for the world. And so when it's kind of an affirmation, you're like, okay, then everything is piecing together, and I feel as though I'm making the right decision. And, but I mean, yeah, Paige, obviously what she did for the league and for the Redbirds in her 1 year is something that goes down in the history books, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, you made some history too.
No.
We'll talk about that later.
493 points in one season. I scored 614 in 4 seasons. So, yeah.
So, how was the transition from, Millikin there? Like, what was your first D1 moment? Like, you're like, oh yeah, this is D1. Was it like, the post players are a lot bigger, right? A lot bigger. But like, what was your first D1 moment? It could have been in practice or anything.
Mm-hmm. This is a funny question because more of I speak so highly about Coach Lett and then what she was able to do for us at Millikin. We were unlike any Division III program. We worked really, really, really hard in the off season and also in season. And I also took it upon myself to be in the gym, 3 times a week in season, just working on my game to be the best I could for her. And she just held me to a really high standard when we were there. So luckily, since I went so hard in that program, it kind of transitioned well into Illinois State. Kind of was on par with conditioning, so that didn't really hit me in the face. It was more of the pace of play and then obviously the size, as you mentioned. But the thing that was big for me is I came into the locker room and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got all this gear, and then I don't have to wash the loops. You're telling me I don't have to stay after practice and wash the loops? It was more of that kind of thing. And rebounding, you got a plethora of coaches who will drop anything and everything for you. And whenever you want to get in the gym, so that was the thing that I was the most taken back from, was just all the amenities to, if you want to be great, here are all the resources we have for you to do that here. And that's something that was like so much gratitude just overtook me when I realized. But yeah, I can't say enough about Coach Lett and how much he pushed me to be the best at that level. And I think that helped me, know what I wanted to do at the Division I level.
So when you're in the weight room and they're telling you 2 more reps, you're like, boy, these amenities and this equipment's so nice here compared to Millikin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lifting was definitely different too. You're on more of a schedule. At Millikin, it was more like, okay, here are the 2 lifts for the week. You're gonna have to find time to kind of figure in the space to do it in. So it's definitely kind of a shocking, different realms for sure.
So Elyce, you had a great year as a Redbird. You were a prolific scorer, especially behind, the arc. Was that how your game always was, like in high school at Millikin, or did it kind of just transform to that as you went to ISU?
I think it definitely transformed. In high school, we had barely many students to form a varsity roster, so you're playing, almost every position on the floor if you're an athlete in general, and that's within any sport, team sport, just when you come from a smaller town. But when I got to Millikin, I kind of took it upon myself to realize, if you're going to want to be great, you're going to have to work on the things you're already really good at and just hone in on that. And for me, shooting in the mid-range is something that would always be my go-to. Wasn't always looking to get downhill. I mean, when I could, it would be an easier take. I didn't want to, get too rough around in the paint area. So a pull-up was always very comfortable for me. And then my three-point shooting, was there at Millikin. Wasn't like the first shot I wanted to always take. Shot a fair percentage while I was there. And then when I got here, I was shooting a lot outside of practice, just because you come from Division III to Division I, and you don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. And that was my whole mentality: was if I want to be who I said I'm going to be to this coaching staff, I'm going to have to put in the work. And I was shooting three times a week in the off season, and then in season, I struggled with a hamstring injury, so we kind of were doing light shooting, light workouts, but they were really good about, navigating what I could take physically in that 5th year, and, getting up as many shots as I could. But, the beauty in basketball is that when you play with such high-level posts and, high-level guards, they're able to get you the ball when you need the ball in enough time and space. And, with Addison and Nevaeh playing as high level as they were last year, they were getting doubled, but they were able to pass out of that. And when you're able to pass out to, Shannon turned into a 3-point threat, Maya has been a 3-point threat, and then me, it kind of, blows up any team's defense. And that was the kind of, changing factor for me when I came here. So I owe it to them. They were able to pass out of traps and get me the ball right in the pocket and laces lined up. So, and then obviously the staff, Scott was tremendous. I always worked out with him, and just he knew exactly what I wanted. And yeah, I think I don't know if you guys know Brian Ayersman, but I
Yes.
played against him when he was at Wesleyan, and he joked with Scott. He was like, "I'm telling you, she does a full 45-minute workout before every game." And he's like, "We'll come into the gym at Griswold and she'll just be drenched in sweat already, and we still have 40 minutes to play." So Scott was like, "Is that what you're willing to do before every game?" I said, "Yeah, that's what gets me ready." So preparation is also key.
So talk about that. Why did you like to do that before a game, right? Are you in that good of shape? Or are you that much of a glutton for punishment? Or is that just how your body needs to get warmed up and get into that mechanical movement going, kind of?
Right. I like to say, I'd hope to say that it was because I was so in shape, but I think it just became a thing for me to kind of just get warm and, get a feel for kind of the ball and then the gym, because in D3 you're doing, 1-day travel, so you have to make the most of what you can in that hour 15 that you have before you start actual warm-ups.
Right.
And I think it just became a kind of a routine for me, and coach knew, and she'd be out there rebounding, and but yeah, I think a way for me to just get warm and get ready for the game. It didn't bother me. I mean, I wasn't tired when
you never looked tired. No, that was never. No.
Yeah,
that's impressive because everybody has their way of getting mentally ready to play in the game, right? And if that's your way, good. Talk about the difference in travel. That was kind of interesting. You kind of threw that in there. The difference between D3 travel and D1 travel.
It was a big difference when you came here and we did the, traveled the day before, stayed the night. It's a luxury. You're like, thank goodness you're not having to wake up at 7 a.m., be on a bus for 4 hours. If you're going up to, when we played Carroll and Waukesha, but I think that was the farthest trip, was about 5 hours, play a game and then come all the way back. Like, that's just a really, really long day.
Long day, yes.
Yeah. And I know last year when we played at Chicago State, Coach had joked like in the huddle before, and she's like, this is E's cup of tea. We're doing 1 day travel. This is what she's used to. She better shoot lights out in the gym.
Yeah.
We always joked about that, but it's a huge difference in terms of like prep and everything that goes into it. Last year our schedule was a little different when we would go to the Iowas. But this year it's kind of changed where we kind of do just that one trip, come home, and then we get like 2 days, and then we're back on the road again.
Right.
And that wasn't necessarily the case last year. So.
And you guys are flying in, right, and practicing that night usually in the gym, or do you practice at home and then fly and then get there? But at least you get a shoot around, right?
Yeah. So typically we would practice here the day before, get about an hour before we got on the bus, and then we would travel, have dinner, do all that kind of stuff. And then depending on the game time and the shoot around times, we would have a shoot around in the morning.
Yeah.
And then have that day to kind of, chill out and then go for the game.
Yeah, that shoot around in the morning is really nice because you kind of feel for the rims, the court. I don't know about you, but we walk around and dribble on the floor looking for dead spots. And,
yeah.
Right? And so you're doing all that stuff. And so, yeah.
She didn't have to have the feel for the rim. She was all net, John. She was all net.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So, speaking of shooting, like, did they talk to you about, like, what your role would be? And then, because your style a little bit, I'm not saying exactly, but like Mary Crompton that played a couple of years before you, it seemed like you had that role and you embraced it and you did it really well. But was there kind of like some discussions? I hate to compare, but like it seemed like that was the role that you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, to start on my visit, we didn't really talk about, she kind of was just like, we recruited you for you, and that's exactly what we want you to be at this level. And because there were times, I struggled with, leadership and things like that, and we'd have chats, and she was like, we recruited you to be exactly who you are. You don't need to change anything about that. And, I think it just kind of turned into what we had on the floor were so many different threats. I mean, there were sometimes we had 3 or 4 people in double figures, and everybody just knew their role really well, and it just pieced together perfectly. But at Millikin, I was more of a facilitator, a scorer. Don't want to say a high-level defender in any means, but I think it kind of just, when you come in and you're playing with Maya, who's a 6-year, who has been the primary facilitator, you kind of just, that weight is taken off of you.
Right.
And you're kind of like, okay, then I can, spot up, get to my spot, and I have faith that she's going to be able to find me. So, I mean, it's all in with who you're playing, of course.
Yeah, but a lot of times I'd watch you get the rebound and you'd take off.
Yeah.
Especially that first game against Wesleyan last year, you took off, beat everybody down the court like 3 or 4 times, and I could see and I forget the Wesleyan coach's name. She played volleyball at ISU, legend here at ISU, and she's yelling at her players because you're beating everybody, and Coach G's yelling at the other 4 people to try to keep up. So even though Maya would run the offense, there was times where it looked like you had the green light just to go.
Yeah, we turned it into kind of, on makes, Maya, you've got it out because we're going to set something up.
Amen.
And then Elyce on misses, you have we want you to have the rebound because you're going to push the pace. And because that's kind of what I did at Millikin, on misses, we were trying to push the pace and get easy ones in transition. And I think that's kind of where they saw that correlation, and that's kind of what our mantra was, when getting the ball out of the net or off a defensive rebound.
So you had like 4 games when you made 5 threes or more. You made 7 against Southern, which is pretty incredible. What's it feel like when you're draining 5 threes or 7 threes, and you did it in the NIT game against Louisiana Tech, which not only did you just do it in a game, it wasn't like against any cupcake. It was against a really good quality opponent too. Like what's that feeling?
It's just surreal. I mean, you dream of moments of playing in the kind of crowds that we were playing in the WNIT. I mean, that run was something that I'll never forget, just because we were able to have all those games at home, and just the people, the community. You just saw everybody kind of come together for this women's basketball, run in the WNIT. It was something that they were excited about. So, it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. If I could go back and live in those games where, I'm shooting lights out and it kind of just like, give me the ball. I know that thing's going in because I'm seeing orange, I guess. I don't know. But it's, again, owe it to my teammates, and then, the staff. They run spectacular sets to get me in the spots that I need to be in. But yeah, truly just, it's just you're living out your dream. I never thought I would be here at this level, and to be around high-level athletes, staff, and then obviously the fans. Just it's literally surreal.
What's the opposing coach saying? Is you're going 5 for 7? Like at some point you're like, do you know who's mad?
Yeah. I just remember hearing, "Don't let her get a catch," or like when you're by their bench, it's like high hands. And then I remember my mom sending me a clip from when we were at Southern, and I had hit a shot like right before the half ended, and you just see the coach just throw his hands down through the locker room. Because I think at that point it was like either my 4th or 5th, and it had been like 3 in a row. So, I mean, it's funny when you look back on it, for sure.
What's better, like when you're in front of the home crowd and everyone's just getting pumped up, or you're away and it's dead silent and you're hearing the coach's frustration, the opposing coach's frustration? They're both good, right? But which one's better?
Yeah. I would say at home, there's just no other feeling than, hearing the PA just say, "Elyce Knudsen, for 3." Like, that is something that never got old. And obviously the crowds cheer when it's louder over the opposing. That's something that you want. So.
All right, Elyce, we're going to start talking about some games here. So let's talk about the first one we have, Harvard.
Yeah. A great team coming to CEFQ Arena. One of the maybe second games coming back from a hamstring injury, so I missed the first 2. And I think I played Lemoyne was my first game, actually in a Redbird uniform. So then to play Harmony Turner and Harvard was something that was going to be a test for sure. How can we contain her and then also make this kind of a dogfight and us come out on top? And then obviously she got to hers like any great player would. We were close throughout the whole game, and then, a couple missed shots at the end and a couple defensive mishaps, that happens. But to say you went up against one of the more prolific guards in the country at the time is something that, you just can't really take for granted. And great player, great coach, coaching staff. And they had a great team last year, so it was a great experience.
Awesome. All right, you also.
And it was Harvard of Midwest versus Harvard, right?
yeah, that's exactly right.
Absolutely.
All right, well played, Steve. You also talked about the Belmont game.
Yeah, top 4 or 5 team in our league at home. It was a game that we needed to win to kind of stay in the place that we wanted to in the league at the time. I remember hitting, a step back fadeaway shot to kind of put us in a comfortable lead, and then that's where, you know, we got the ball, they fouled, and we were able to keep it on our side. And just remember Coach G and what she said, and she was like, we recruited you to be the playmaker that you are. You hit a big one tonight. And something that stuck with me, obviously, when you can beat one of the top teams in the MVC at home, you remember that. So really great game. You know, they're a great team, great program. So
That is awesome. Next one, UNI game you wanted to talk about.
yeah, you know, we had UNI Drake at home. UNI was the first game of the weekend. You know, two really good teams, as I said, up there with Belmont in our league. How can we shut Maya McDermott down and the rest of that cast, who, you know, are complete veterans in the league and at this level. And we were able to do that, you know, with our scheme against them and in front of the Redbird fans. So it's something that you just don't forget when you're able to beat such a well-coached team in a program that has been at the top of the league for quite a while now.
Yeah, McDermott is a great player.
Great.
So, yeah,
she's a great guard.
Great. All right, the play for K game with Missouri State.
An experience like none other. My mom will speak so highly of it. She thinks that the way, you know, people just come together for such a great cause outside of basketball is something that she came to the one this year, and she's like, it always brings tears to my eyes to hear people's stories, to watch people cheer on the Redbirds, and all for this, you know, great cause. And when we were able to beat Mo State, I remember, I think the stat was like, if you keep them below 65, they have lost. I think the stat was like they had lost every game, and I think they had just scored 65, and we beat them by 9 or 10.
Right.
We're like, okay, we did it. So that means they actually don't win when they only score 65 points. But again, beating, you know, such high level guards, Lacey Stokes, you know, Kira Daniels, who's now at Wisconsin, just people who have been in this league and are great players. You know, you can only applaud yourself for escaping, you know, a top team in the league. So,
all right, next one, which is kind of we've had all happy ones so far. So this is the conference game against Drake, where you guys played awesome, but faced that overloaded Drake team.
Yeah, you know, it's so frustrating to lose, for one, but then when you lose and, you know, you do everything offensively that you wanted to do, everything defensively, you stopped, you know, Katie Dennebeer, Anna Miller in the way you wanted to. But when you play such high-level basketball players, they find a way to, you know, kind of disrupt what you have schemed against them. And I just remember the feeling in the locker room, like, God, we played so well, and you don't want your season. You think your season is done right there.
Right.
There, and all of the memories for me of basketball just flashed right there, and you're hugging everybody. But, you know, Coach G has nothing but good things to say. You know, effort, energy, hustle was like everything was there. You just don't come out on top, and that's a feeling that you just sits with you the wrong way. So,
right.
Yeah.
So you don't know at this point you get into NIT. So at what point do you start hearing the whispers that you might be going to the NIT? Because it always starts because I played twice in the NIT and once in the NCAA. Always starts as whispers. All of a sudden, people start, we might be getting to the NIT. So when does that start for you? And when do you guys start hearing this? And kind of walk us through that whole process.
I can't remember the schedule exactly. I know we had a couple of days off. Obviously, Coach has been in the WNIT. They're familiar with kind of how, you know, where we were sitting in the league, where we could possibly be placed. It was either, you know, WBIT or WNIT.
Right.
And I think Belmont had been placed in the WBIT. Drake had been placed in the WBIT. And then we were eventually placed in the WNIT. I think it was probably a week. We had such an odd practice. I think we practiced without knowing we were actually going to be in it. And yeah.
So at that point, are you guys like, why are we still practicing here?
Kind of like that, but like we think we know we're going to be in it. We have faith that they know we're going to be in it. So kind of just practicing, not practicing against any scout or anything, because we have no idea who we're going to play or if we're going to play. So it's kind of just working on, skill things.
Like a preseason practice almost.
Exactly. That's exactly what it felt
Right.
like. And then we ended up finding out, I feel like not that many days later, that we were going to be in it. And then it was kind of just waiting on that first round. And then.
Because you got to buy the first round,
Yep.
right?
And then ended up playing Western. So we were
At
just
home.
kind of watching all those games and seeing who we could play, possibly play, and played Western at home. And yeah. And that's when it
So
started.
did you guys sit in the office and watch that Western? Because let me look it up. Western played Lipscomb, or whatever they pronounced.
I remember watching it in our apartment. Me, Nevaeh, and Addison were watching
Okay,
it.
you were watching. Okay.
Yeah, so
Were you taking notes?
we were. We hadn't watched any of these teams before, and then obviously the staff
Right? I mean,
prepared scouting reports.
yeah, because
so.
you're playing them the next day. You're not going to
Yeah.
have a whole lot of prep time like we normally do, right? This is
Right.
almost like in the Valley tournament where you got one game and now you're getting ready to pick up whoever the next two team is. Okay, but now you're at Wesleyan. So talk about the fact that you had played in Wesleyan for you talked 5 times at Millikin, right? 4 regular seasons and a conference tournament, if I got that correct.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're walking into the Shirk Center in red and white.
Yeah. I remember we took a shoot around the day before, and I had missed like a bunch of my shots, and one of the coaches said, like, she never did this in all 4 of her years. What's going on? She should be used to this gym. But yeah, it's definitely quite the experience. Like I said earlier, when you're able to fill like that arena kind of gym, but also kind of feels more small, but also nice enough to be, a collegiate arena. With Redbird fans and it be so loud anytime we score, get a defensive stop, that's something that's super fun. And then I remember, I think I hit like my first shot and then went cold a little bit. And then that's when I started to catch fire and made, I think, close to like 4 in a row. And then that's when the lead kind of expanded near the end of the third, going into the fourth. But yeah, in a post game presser, I don't know if you could find it anywhere, but somebody just said like, "Well, how did you escape with this win?" And I said, "If it's any motivation at all, I didn't want my last game to be in the Shirk Center." So, and they just laughed and whatever. But yeah, it was so much fun. I got scared that we were gonna have to travel down to Texas to play, but for Wesleyan, to be able to allow us to use their facilities for this WNIT, kudos to them and just what basketball means to this Bloomington Normal community. So.
Yep. All right. Then you go on and play Louisiana Tech, right? So that was a good game. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one before we get into the one that all of us have to face?
Yeah, I think I became the single season 3-point scoring
did.
record in that game. Had no idea that was going to happen. You can still hear Greg's voice over the radio saying that I broke, I think it was a corner 3 or somewhere in that realm. But, now I'm in the history book.
So now you hear it over, you hear Greg Hallbright call it out. But yeah, you got to get your butt back on defense.
I heard on the video after the game.
Okay, I didn't know if you actually heard it during the game, right? I mean, you like trying to kind of celebrate and run, or
Yeah, no. I think the clip shows when you can see his video, and then my mom is sitting courtside on the baseline, and they're just like cheering with their arms up. So it's a pretty cool video, but yeah, you're just grateful you win another game and your season goes on. I mean, that's all you can ask for as a 5th year. So.
Yeah, get one more time to compete, right? And so
Yeah.
this is my one point to all the Redbird fans. I don't like when universities turn down an opportunity for their club to go play, even like ISU men's went to go play in the CBI. Let the kid play one more game, right? They've given 1 year, 3 years, 4 years of their life to this program. And I hate when I hear, this school just shut down and we're not going to go play in the NIT.
Yeah.
Right? It's just horrible, right? And so, okay, get to the last one, right? We all have that last one. Very few of us have ever, besides I think women have got an NIT championship, I think. I got to go back and look at Jill's stuff. But yeah, no. Talk about that one. Talk about Troy.
Yeah, obviously leading up to that game, we scouted just that they were more, on the physical side, aggressive. We were going to have to box out. They rebounded the ball very well. And then just had a bunch of scorers, who just were just true playmakers. And then obviously we scouted them hard. Probably not hard enough because we gave up, 99 points. But
you scored 96. Neither team was playing defense. I was in the gym.
It was a scoring. It was a scoring fest for sure. But just remember the lower bowl, just being completely full with fans for us being in the Fab Four, as they call it in the WNIT. Just really excited about our run. So when you run out and you see everybody, it's kind of like, okay, if it's any motivation at all, you're doing it for these people who have been cheering you on along the way. And then, it was back and forth. It was a little bit of a battle. I remember Shannon hit a 3 to close out the half, and the place just erupted. So cool. I just remember going up to her, giving her the hardest high five ever, and I'm like, okay, we got the second half. And then, again, back and forth. I think they had a girl that was just on a tear from 3-point, and everything that she saw was going in. And then to end the game, we had a chance to, tie it going to overtime. Coach had no timeouts left. We ran a play that we had discussed briefly throughout the season, I think in the beginning of the season, and then maybe towards the end of this run. And she's basically just yelling at us to get in the right spots. And we did. Ran it to perfection. I curled the corner, I think. Addie threw me the ball, caught it, and I was expecting somebody to be right there in the backcourt, and it caught me by surprise, chucked it up, put a little too much on it. It looked good for a second, and then just banked off the backboard. And I remember just putting my hands on my knees, bent over, and then I just feel a tap on my back, and it was Coach Gillespie. She was the first person to run over there to me, give me a hug. So something that I'll never forget, when your head coach runs out there to console you, because your career has just ended.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It was, you want to go out on top and be able to either travel to Buffalo, or maybe hopefully get them there to, finish out your career in a championship game. But, yeah.
So when you played Abilene Christian, I gotta ask you a question. That's where Addison played, right?
Abilene Christian, yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't going to let you guys lose to them, right?
Right. Not only was I playing in my old rival's gym, she was also playing against the team that she used to play for. So it was the two storms just kind of...
That had to be crazy for her, right?
Yeah, it was for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Elyce, here we go, closing.
I just want to say thank you, first of all, you guys, for doing this. I always applaud people who have me on and, have a love for sports. And then obviously Illinois State, just something that, hold near and dear to my heart when I'm able to share my story with you all, and then for you guys to put that out. So, and then obviously I can't say thank you enough to, everybody in Decatur and Millikin and my former teammates, and then Coach Lett, and then everybody on staff here and my teammates. Kind of shaped me, into the player that I am, the individual, student, athlete, everything. And then my family and friends, you can't do it without them. And they're literally the foundation of who I am as a person, and what I strive to be every day. So that's all I have from me. But again, thank you guys so much for allowing me to share just a little snippet of my basketball career here with the Redbirds. So
it was awesome to get to watch you play, right? I love seeing athletes take on their passion and go at it, right? And so, all right. So this has been BirdFans Forever, episode 82 with Elyce Knudsen. Get it?
Thank you, Elyce.
Elyce, thank you.